So each year, our Rotary president, international president, chooses a theme for the year. And our president is Ian Risley from the Rotary Club of Sandringham, Victoria, Australia. And he tells a story about how his club hosted a busload of children who had experienced the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl. They'd been flown to Australia for a little sunshine and fresh air, and he describes them as being a little too thin and a little too pale. One of their activities was to spend a day at the park, where his club had built a fantastic playground. A few days later, the local newspaper ran a story, and it featured a photo of one of the little girls hanging upside down, big smile on her face, and her thin hair blowing in the breeze. And right beside her, embedded in the post, was the rotary wheel. And he realized at that moment the power of that wheel to make a difference in someone's life. Rotary Making the Difference, as you see on the banner, is the theme that he chose. But there's another element of his story that caught my attention. Two of the greatest discoveries that have shaped the lives of mankind and dramatically changed our direction and our ability to move forward in civilization, in industry, and in culture were fire and the wheel. And President Ian talked to us about the power of the rotary wheel to make a difference. The power of that wheel and the fire that burns within it has also dramatically changed the world that we live in and would be sorely missed if it were not here. And it's a power we all experience in our clubs. And if I do nothing else as district governor this year, I want to make sure that we all recognize that power, that we appreciate it, that we are proud of it, and that we share it. So what sparks that power that has such influence for good in the world? The reason we join, the reason we work so hard, the reason we stay, and the reason others should join us. Well, for years, Rotary has brought together community leaders to identify issues that need attention and needs that must be met, whether that's locally or internationally. But we've been doing much more than joining leaders. We have also been building and growing leaders for over a century. We don't all come into Rotary with good leadership skills, but I know you will agree with me that you cannot be a Rotarian without developing leadership. And all the while we are learning and growing, we are reaching back to those who are coming behind us, sharing our passion and our expertise and giving them opportunities to do the same. Good leadership means good programs, well-run meetings, relevant service projects, and a healthy, sustainable club. When Siegel and Gale studied us a few years ago, they discovered something. There are networking organizations, like chambers of commerce, and there are service organizations. But we possess a very unique intersection of commerce and cause. This combination of service and business brings our occupational expertise to bear on our service opportunities, often cultivates business relationships, but it also provides for leadership opportunities and growth in our professions as we not only bring our vocations to Rotary, but we bring Rotary into our vocations. These leadership opportunities, whether they're in the club or outside of the club, are a very attractive part of our essence, of who we are, and it ignites the power of the wheel. Cynthia Witham's son and daughter-in-law adopted a child from Haiti shortly before she joined our club, and she conceived our well projects as a great opportunity to give back to that country who had given her this beautiful granddaughter. Howard Bauman, a retired gastroenterologist, got involved, and I always wondered, could it be his firsthand knowledge of what an unsafe water supply can do to a population that caused him to work so hard to understand our grant system and work out all those tricky bits in the process until we completed the project? Bo Eileen visited that project before it was finished, and he observed women and children spending their days carrying water from a stream contaminated by both humans and animals. And he was warned not to touch them. They were not healthy. But after the project was finished, these people are healthy. They get all of the water they need for their domestic use during the day, and in the evenings, at night, they turn that water on the fields and they're growing vegetables. Villagers congregate around that well, and a market has sprung up. And they can bring those vegetables and their handcrafts and other wares to trade. The result is changed lives, even saved lives. But even smaller local projects can make a huge difference. Who knew that some paint, some cupboards, and some hooks to organize school supplies and backpacks at the homeless youth drop-in center would give them such a sense of pride, and that they would take ownership of the upkeep and make sure nobody got sloppy with their things? And Cindy Lanisar also tells us that the publicity for our project shone a light on that shelter, and other businesses and organizations also came along and helped to improve that shelter. These are projects that count, projects that matter, projects that members want to be involved in. I have told these stories in other clubs. And they have these stories too, of good, relevant projects that fill a true need, and they are part of our essence. And the power of the wheel is fueled by our desire to serve. We have, arguably, one of the finest foundations in the world. Charity Navigator and CNBC rate the Rotary Foundation with their highest ratings for administration, for transparency, and for the amount of money that actually goes to the projects. And you may know that for every dollar we give this year, in 3 years, 50 cents comes back to us in our district to be used for our district projects and our global grant projects, and those global grant dollars are matched again by the Rotary Foundation. To me, those are very powerful reasons to make the Rotary Foundation my charity of choice. I can add my contributions to yours, and to yours, and to yours. And by pooling our resources, we can have a real positive impact. I've always hoped that someday I'd be able to participate in an international Rotary project, be those boots on the ground, and meet those people face to face whose lives are changed for the better. But because of family and business obligations and financial reasons, that hasn't happened for me yet. But you know, it doesn't matter. That well project in Haiti is mine. That ambulance that went to Mexico full of medical supplies is mine. Those wheelchairs that go to South America, they are also mine. And those 1,000 Peace Fellows who have finished their studies and are working in the ways of peace all around the world, they are also mine, with my contributions to the Rotary Foundation. And with your donations, they are also yours. Can you imagine a world without disease? Others are imagining that because of our success in the eradication of polio. This could be the year that we see the last case of polio on Earth. Since January, we have had only 8 cases of the wild polio virus in the world. We are beginning and preparing for the countdown to history. We need to count 36 months without a case of polio while we continue to immunize and continue to monitor water supplies before we can declare the job is done. And I want to ring the bell for that. President Ian challenges us, do not give up the momentum. And Paul Netzel, our Rotary Foundation chair, tells us we can be proud of our vision for a polio-free world. We convince the governments and the partners to collaborate with us. We organize the ground game, and we should not be afraid to declare our fair share of the credit for this great accomplishment. This was an audacious goal. And now we are this close to this. You cannot deny the power of the wheel behind that. So when we get dedicated and determined leaders together to get things done, we form strong bonds of friendship. We often build business relationships, and we have fun. Do you remember when somebody put down $20 for our foundation with the challenge that Rick Galpo prove his Facebook claim? That he could do 13 handstand push-ups. He promptly came to the front of the room and performed that feat for us as we counted and cheered. We do work hard. But such goofiness and fun is very refreshing. We've learned that the #1 reason people join Rotary is for local service. But the #1 reason we stay are the friendships that we develop. And the flame of those friendships is the warmth at the center of the power of the wheel. Leadership, service, friendship. These are 3 very powerful elements of the essence of Rotary. No club is perfect, but when we are strong in all 3, we are healthy and vibrant. This will be the theme of our conference, May 18th through 20th, right here at the Salem Convention Center. Please mark your calendar for a weekend celebration of leadership, service, friendship, and fun, chaired by Tammy Denny. And a new event this year will be a pre-conference for our young professionals and the club leaders who want to learn to be more welcoming, flexible, and better connect with the needs of these emerging leaders. So our West Coast Rotary International Director, John Matthews, wants us to remember that as Rotarians, we have customers, and they are us. Our value proposition is this Rotary experience. It's a product we choose to purchase with our time and with our treasure. And it's also the experience we serve up to one another. We buy into this. And most of us find that it is worth much more than the investment we make. So I wonder, why aren't more people knocking on our doors? You would think that this would be extremely attractive to like-minded people, right? Well, here's a little illustration with some reasons about why they may not be knocking and some things that we can do about it. So if my 10 fingers represent the general public, 3 of them represent those who have never heard of Rotary. But even after all of the public image campaigning that we've been doing for the last 5 years, that's not very encouraging, but it is an improvement from that. So these 5 represent the general public who have heard of Rotary. They have a general good feeling about us, but they couldn't really tell you what we do. That leaves 2. Now these have heard about Rotary. They know that we do good things in the world and could even maybe tell you a few of those. But most of them couldn't tell you about a club in their community, and they don't really see themselves in our picture. So if it's the general public that we go to for fundraising, sponsorships, help with our service projects, and prospective members, looks like we've got a little bit of work to do, doesn't it? So if that Rotary experience is a product customers like us are willing to pay for, we can compare the Rotary emblem or brand mark at the top of the poster there to the label on the package. It creates a unified look, identifiable around the world. And we've come a long way in the last 5 years in adopting those, but we aren't there yet. There are logos, active image photos, positive voice and color guidelines, brochure templates, and videos available at My Rotary in the Brand Center. But I'm also so happy to announce a new public image campaign coming from Rotary International. People of Action is a new public image campaign designed to raise the awareness of the general public of Rotary and the good that we do in the world. There will be video, do-it-yourself print ads, social media, radio, and outdoor advertising, and they will be coming online also in the Brand Center over the next few months. In the newsletter, the district newsletter that Karen just put out, August 1, there is a video, a preview video. Please look at that and click into that link and take a look at that video. A good public image plan is like a torch that shines a light on the power of the wheel. And these new tools will make our job easier, but we need to remain intentional about identifying prospective members and bringing them to our activities. When we have good meetings, socials, and fundraisers and relevant service projects, we are excited and proud of our club, and we're more eager to share with prospective members. And that enthusiasm will make them want to visit. And they'll visit again and become involved and become Rotarians. But if we don't invite them, as Bruce said in his newsletter this week, they won't come. And although I didn't realize it at the time, I was looking for Rotary when I was invited 16 years ago. When I watched the evening news or read the paper, I felt overwhelmed by the needs that were expressed in the headlines. Our last child was leaving the nest, and my thoughts were turning from those activities that parents do to the wider world. But Ron and I were still extremely busy in our business. I wanted to give back. I wanted to make the world a better place than I found it, like my mother always said I should do. Yours too, right? But I felt very small and powerless. What could I possibly do when my time and my means were both limited? And then a customer invited me to Rotary. That was it. I became a Rotarian the moment I realized that this was the place that I could serve in my community, in the region, and around the world. I could join my talents and expertise with others of integrity and genuine compassion, and we could accomplish so much more together than any of us could alone. Judy Saucer, my sponsor, invited me. She came along at just the right time, shared the Rotary story with me, and paid me the great compliment of inviting me to join her. There are others who have just as much heart for service as we do, and they may be looking for us. They may be that newly retired or nearly retired person who's looking for something worthwhile to do with their time. They could be someone like me looking for ways to multiply their efforts. What does our community look like ethnically? That new member may bring a new perspective on a portion of our population that's underrepresented in our club. They may be parents, looking for ways to share the value of service with their children. What a great experience to share a service project with a young daughter and hear her say, as past Rotary International Director Brad Howard did, "Daddy, we did something good, didn't we?" They may be that service-minded young professional with fresh ideas who would benefit greatly from the leadership opportunities that we offer. And they jump at the chance for career-building conversations seated next to the seasoned professionals that are in the room. You need to be flexible with these emerging professionals. We heard from Brittany Arthur at International Convention. She is the president of the Rotaract Club of Berlin. And she says young people have time for Rotary, but they may not necessarily have time for meetings. Consider the corporate membership option. That prospective member may be that business owner or organization executive who does not have time for a weekly meeting, but is looking for ways to get their key employees involved in the community. Think long term. When we look at our district membership, we see about 33% women and only 6% under the age of 40. Sometimes we forget that Paul Harris was only 36 when he started Rotary. So here's a question. If we keep doing the same thing we are doing now, what will our club look like in 10 years? Will it represent the diversity in our community in ethnicity, gender, and age? These are serious questions. But we need to get serious, and not just our club. All of Rotary needs to get serious about bringing along the next generation of Rotarians and future leaders in our organization. We have a great responsibility to see that the service that we offer to the world continues for generations to come. People are counting on us. So share the Rotary story. Share our club story. Share your personal experiences with those that you have identified. And some won't get it. And that's okay. Some may get it, but they may not be in the right season of their life. But I was, and you were, and others will be, and they will get it. Pay them that great compliment of inviting them to join you. Pretty soon they'll be serving on your committees, maybe even chairing an event or a service project, serving on the board, becoming president, and who knows? Someday they may even be your district governor. Well, I've shared with you about who we are, our collective power to serve others, what we get out of this ourselves, and how we can replicate ourselves for a sustainable future of service. And I'd like to close with this thought. These are things that I believe we all want and that spark that fire of our desire to serve. We want people to be healthy, well-nourished, have clean water, and be free of debilitating disease. We want people to be educated, to be able to support their families and enjoy the beauty of rich culture. We want the kind of peace that allows all people to pursue their dreams and productive community. And we want it badly enough to work for it, investing our time, our talents, our intellectual assets, and our treasure in it. We want it badly enough to invite our family, our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers, and our colleagues to help and to encourage one another in the pursuit. And we want it badly enough to pray every day for the strength, time, means, and will to make it so. We are Rotarians. We make a difference. And that, my friends, is the power of the wheel.